Good day everyone. Today we're going to discuss about the ESL strategies. So the first strategy is the communicative natural approach. The second one is the affective domain and the last one is the literacy. So what is communicative approach? Communicative approach is based on the idea that learning language successfully comes through having to communicate real meaning. It means that it is a concept which explains that language can be learned through expressing its real meaning, like using the language in conveying information. If a teacher used the language during the discussion, the students learn the language by using examples. Communicative language teaching is an approach to the teaching of second and foreign languages. It encompasses interaction as both the means and the ultimate goal of learning a language. It is also referred to as a communicative approach. Just like what I said lately, like learning a language through conveying information. Like for example, student will understand or master a certain language if they always use it. Background. The communicative approach emerged in the early 1970s as a result of the work of the Council of Europe experts. A group of experts saw the need to focus on communicative proficiency rather than mastery of structures. Next one is the goals. To become communicatively competent. Of course, if you are master the language, you know how to communicate effectively to other person or to your audience. And for that, you and your audience understand each other. The second goal is to use the language appropriate for a given social context. To use language as appropriate for a given social context, it talks about the being sensitive and being appropriate when it comes in using language. Upon using languages, we must know how to choose the exact words that are compatible to the given setting. That is why we need to filter and think on what we have to say to the other individual. And the last goal is to manage the process of relating meaning with interlocutors. So it means being able to manage the process of relating meaning with interlocutor means you're to control the way you communicate your ideas to someone you're talking to. Objectives. The main objective of CLT is to increase the communicability of learners in order to enable them to cope with their communicative needs in the target situation. Language techniques are designed to engage learning in a pragmatic, authentic, functional of a language for meaningful purposes. Fluency and accuracy are seen as complementary principles underlying communicative techniques. Students should share information which others don't know. Through the interaction, there is an exchange of ideas because we have different perspectives and opinions. We all know that not all things we know, but because of interactions, you share your ideas to others and they learn from you, and also their knowledge shared also to you, which you also do not know already. So there is an exchange of learnings. So next one is the theory of learning. The goal of language teaching is to develop what Himes 1972 referred to as communicative competence. Communicative competence because people help able to assess what is going to appropriate and effective in a given context and then modify their behaviors accordingly. According to the communicative approach, in order for learning to take place, emphasis must be put on the importance of these variables. First is the communication, second is the task, and the third one is the meaning. Theory of language. Language is for communication and linguistic competence, and the knowledge of forms and their meaning are part of the communicative competence. Another aspect of this knowledge is to learn the use of the language. Let's proceed to the principles. Whenever possible, authentic language should be introduced. Number 2. The target language is a vehicle for classroom communication. Number 3. Student should work with language at the discourse or supra-sentential level. Number 4. Students should be given an opportunity to express their ideas and opinions. Number 5. Communicative interaction encourages cooperative relationships. Number 6. The social context of the communicative event is essential in giving meaning to the utterance. And number 7 is the teacher acts as an advisor during the communicative activities. And the number 8 is teacher helps learners in a way that motivates them to work with the language. So, evaluation. A teacher evaluates not only the student's accuracy, but also their fluency. He can informally evaluate his student's performance in his role as an advisor or communicator. It means that during the learning process, a teacher will observe if there is an improvement and the fluency of the performance of a student. So, the teacher can identify for that during their learning process or during the discussion. Materials. Language materials authentic to native speakers of the target language. Newspapers, radio, and television broadcast news, weather forecast, timetables. For beginner students, it is impossible to use reality without a lot of language. Techniques. Communicative language teaching uses almost any activity that engages learners in authentic communication. Functionally, communication activities in which communication is involved, and social interaction activities such as conversation and discussion sessions, dialogues, and role plays. So, it means that during the learning process, we all know that each students have different learning style. Like some students learn in watching videos, listening, and etc. etc. And as a teacher, you must use many techniques so your students will able to learn during the learning process. You must be flexible in during the discussion. So you will going to fill the gap between each of your students. Teacher's role. The teacher facilitate communication in the classroom. Let the students manipulate because they learn more when they touch a thing. Diba? Most of the most of students learn by doing. Diba? They learn by manipulating a thing. Second is during the activities, he acts as an advisor, answering student questions and monitoring their performance. Because some topics they do not understand. That's why they ask, and you must fulfill it as a teacher or as a facilitator. Independent participant. Next is the need analyst. And counselor. As a teacher, you must give advice when there is bad happen to them. Also, it includes when they have a family problems or they feel depressed in the classroom or any activities in school. Last one is the group process manager. Student's role, negotiator. Since the teacher's role is less dominant than in a teacher-centered method, students are seen as more responsible managers of their own learning. So, it means that we use the new curriculum now called the OBE or the Out-Based Education, where it is a student-centered. The teacher will only facilitate their students during the learning process. We do believe that by letting the student manipulate or do their tasks, help learn more during the learning process. Next is the error correlation in CLT. CLT leads an effective transfer in error correction and the methods of language teaching. It is believed that all mistakes need not to be corrected because these are seen as a natural outcomes of the development of communication skill. Advantages. Communicative approach is much more pupil-orientated because it is based on pupils' needs and interests. Next is the communicative approach seeks to personalize and localize language and adapt it to interest of pupils. Meaningful languages always more easily retained by learners. Third is seeks to use authentic resources, and that is more interesting and motivating for children. Next is children acquired grammar rules as a necessity to speak, so is more proficient and efficient. And if there is a advantages, also there is a disadvantages. It pays insufficient attention to the text in which teaching and learning take place. The communicative approach often seems to interpreted as if the teacher understands the students, we have good communication. But native speakers of the target language can have a great difficulty understanding students. Another disadvantage for that is that the CLT approach focuses on fluency but not accuracy. The approach does not focus on error education but instead creates a situation where learners are left using their own devices to solve their communication problems. Thus, they may produce incoherent, grammatically incorrect sentences. So that's all. And the continuation of my report will be Miss Paso. Thank you for listening. Goodbye and God bless.